Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to welcome you to the final multi-stakeholder meeting of the EU-funded BioReCer project. My name is Dušica Banduka from the nova-Institut, and together with my colleague Anke Schwarzenberger, we are responsible for the communication and dissemination in BioReCer. As mentioned, so today we are concluding our final stakeholder meeting. I would like to lead you a little bit through today's agenda. So we will start with a progress report with 3 single presentations by Lucia Gonzalez from SEDAQUA, Alessandro Cascaviglia from Unitelma, and Monica Penday from Meocarbon. After this, Romain Magnani from EGM will introduce the latest status of the BioReCer ICT tool. I guess some of you have participated in previous meetings and might have seen previous versions of it. And then today we are lucky to welcome a roundtable of experts with Martin Klemescher from Braskem, Myra Derischer from ISEAL, Anastasia Chastiva-Pavlou from the Union of Workers' Consumers of Greece, and Helmut Frischenschlager from Environmental Agency Austria, as well as Berit Topolinski from Dinchertco. And we would also like to include your own opinions on the BioReCer tool, and we'll conclude with an instant survey where you can participate on the spot and we can all follow your answers. I just read out the names of the panel participants so you can see our expert panel for today. I will say a little bit more about them later on. In October, we will also be hosting our final event of the BioReCer project in general, which is titled Trust, Traceability and Certification. It will be held in Santiago de Compostela in Spain, only as an on-site event, and we specifically invite European research projects to participate. We will have a dedicated exhibition area where you can participate with either materials or posters, and also we invite all of the industry stakeholders from one of our case studies to participate on the spot. So some housekeeping rules for today. You will be able to state your questions in the Q&A section or in the chat. Please feel free to type them in and address the specific speaker with @speaker. In case you would like to raise your comment verbally, please raise your hand and we can unmute you so you can just state your comment. And also all materials of the webinar will be made available on the project website later on. And with this, I would like to lead over to our first presenter, who is Lucia Gonzalez from SEDAQUA, who is also our project coordinator. She will introduce the objectives of the project and also the current status. With this, I'll stop my presentation so Lucia can share. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it perfectly fine.
Well, thank you all for joining us. My name is Lucia Gonzalez. I'm part of the team coordinating the BioReCer project from SEDAQUA. We are a Spanish technological center in the northwest region of Spain. And I'm going to give a very brief overview of what we have done so far. So just to sum up, I know a lot of you have been joining us in other stakeholder meetings. So thank you again for continuing your journey with us. But for any new faces, very, very quickly, the BioReCer project is an innovation action project under the Horizon Europe program. It has been running for 3 years and it's actually finishing on November of this year after 3 years of very hard work. And basically we have 4 demonstrative sites where we have tested all of our outcomes using different value chains in the value sector in different regions of Spain. The consortium is conformed by partners from 7 countries, and we have universities and technological centers, private companies and business clusters, and standardization, certification, and communication bodies. What is the relevance of this project? Well, as I think a lot of you know, there is an abundance of biomasses and feedstocks that are usually underutilized and that they have great potential, but sometimes there is a bit of lack of information about origin, destination, traceability. We don't have enough assessment methodologies, indicators, etc., to show and to demonstrate in a robust manner that these biomasses are just as good as any other raw material. And on the other hand, as we know, the European Union is giving a big push to circular economy and to make Europe self-sustainable. So these two contexts sort of got together and the project came to be. So as I said, the idea is to strengthen certification schemes for bio-based products, biological feedstocks in particular that are secondary raw materials, so we can demonstrate that in fact they can be used in many applications. And to test the results, we have 4 case studies in 4 regions. We have a site in Galicia, Spain, where we are testing sewage, sludge, and canning industry waste. We have a site in Lombardia, Italy, where we're testing organic fraction of municipal solid waste, sewage sludge, agro waste, and non-hazardous liquid organic waste. Another site in Central Macedonia, Greece, related to fruit waste, cereal crops byproducts, and pruning waste. And finally, a 4th site in, sorry for the pronunciation, the Västerråden in Sweden. And here we have forest industry subproducts. So what are the results of the project since it's almost completed? Well, first of all, we have a mapping of the current European biomasses flow. So basically, we have mapped all of the different secondary raw materials that are available in Europe and trace a little bit where they come from, where they go. We also have a multidimensional impact assessment and traceability framework, or what we call the BioReCer framework, that incorporates sustainability and circularity assessment metrics. And it was validated, and we're finishing the validations in 4 case studies. So this assessment framework allows you to test the sustainability and circularity of your bio product, your biomass, but also of your company, because it tackles both organizational aspects and product aspects. This assessment framework has been integrated into an established biological certification scheme, and my colleague Monica is going to talk a little bit more in detail about this soon. Then we also are finishing a secure and data-driven BioReCer ICT tool, where companies can register and promote their biomasses, and also they can auto self-assess their stage based on the assessment framework that we have developed, so you know whether or not you can be certified. And also my colleague Romain will show you the tool and give you a little bit of how it works. We have gained greater insight into bio-based standards and certification schemes. We have done a mapping of standards across all international. And then obviously through all of the interaction with you and the response that we have with all of the stakeholders, which has been very good. So I take this moment to thank you all for your collaboration. We have raised awareness and we have shown the added value of valorization of bio-based products and how certification can help promote this. A little bit about available resources. So we have a Zenodo, which is the BioReCer. There you can see all public deliverables. Also, this mapping that I commented on is also there as a data set, so you can download it, you can filter through it and search whatever information you need. We also have the standards mapping of bioproducts. It's in the Zenodo and it's also in our website in a more user-friendly view if you want. So here is the link to the website where you have news, you have articles and so much more. And we also encourage you to watch our project video, which is on YouTube, which it has a little bit of what is the BioReCer in a nutshell. So this is a very brief introduction, and I am going to give now the floor to my colleagues so they can explain in more detail some of our key results. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Lucia. And with this, I would like to welcome our next speaker, who is Alessandro Cascavilla from Unitelma Sapienza, and he's going to give an overview of a socioeconomic analysis to adopt the new certification schemes. Please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Can you see my screen?
Looks perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So welcome, everybody. I'm Alessandro Cascavilla from Unitelma Sapienza, university established in Rome, in Italy. And we carried out the socioeconomic analysis to adopt a new certification scheme. So today I will present briefly what we have done in this sense. So in order to carry on this analysis, we based our methodology into 3 step with 3 different tools. We first start with the Delphi survey, which is a kind of quantitative methodology to assess the perception of industries and consumers about the new requirements to be included to improve the actual certification schemes. Then we employed the AHP analysis that I will explain in a bit in deeper to see whether experts validate the experts validate also the previous results, and then in the end we carried on an online experiment to assess whether the presence or the absence of a certain certification scheme with a certain set of information can enhance in a way the purchase intention and can drive the willingness to pay of consumers. So I will go direct to each of these methodologies. I start with the Delphi survey. The aim of this survey was to get a consensus among both industries and consumers about the importance of including new requirements in the actual certification scheme. So we proposed a list of 7 requirements that you can see here in the screen, and the participants were supposed to rank them from the most important to the less important in terms of being incorporated in the actual certification schemes. So once we selected these requirements after a very careful analysis, we proposed the survey to the set of industries and consumers in 2 rounds. In the first round, we just asked participants to make this ranking somehow. And then once we collected all this information, we reproposed the same survey to the same set of participants, just giving them the information about the previous result of the survey. So in this way, we can see whether the feedback of the first round can have an effect on the consensus about the choices of and the preference of both consumers and industries. So once we have done this, we delivered the questionnaires translated in national languages in both group of industries and consumers in 4 countries. And as we can see from this very short summary, the results from both rounds show a very clear consensus from both consumer side and the industrial side for including the requirement that we have called Q1, that is, the company measures its carbon emissions and has established a reduction plan. So this was the main result of this Delphi survey methodology after the 2 rounds. So in the first round, we had some divergence between consumers and industries, but then with the second round, they reached a kind of consensus. Once we obtain this information of this potentially interesting requirement to be included, we then aim to corroborate this result by validating such evidence from the expert point of view. So we employed the AHP analysis, that stands for analytic hierarchy process. That is a quantitative tool that helps to rank in a way the priorities through pairwise comparison. So in this sense, we first selected the pool of participants that were experts from industry, from case study leaders of the BioReCer project, but also member of the academic community. And then we defined both the criteria and the alternative that have to be compared on a scale from 1 to 9. I will explain shortly with an example of the sheet, how does it work. So the list of criteria that we selected according to the literature are here in the left side of this slide. And as you can see, we propose 7 criteria, going from the reputation to competitive advantage, but also responsible innovation, efficiency, and savings. And then for each of the criteria, a list of alternatives have to be evaluated. And here the alternatives are exactly the same set of requirements that we proposed in the Delphi survey. So here is the list of the 7 proposed requirements that here in this methodology we call alternatives. So we sent out the Excel sheet to the participants, in which you can see they were supposed to make a pairwise comparison within the 7 criteria and between criteria and alternatives on a scale from 1 that is equally preferred to 9 that is strongly preferred. So there is this match between alternative and criteria. And once we obtain all the information, we made the data analysis, and we see that also in this case, the experts tend to agree on the salience of including the requirement number 1, that is that company should measure the carbon emission and should have a reduction plan established. And also in this case, this is quite clear from this graph that the experts also tend to agree and have a consensus on the importance of including such requirements. So once we corroborate these results that came firstly from consumers, then from industry, and then from experts, we aim to see whether the presence of a certification with such new requirements can have an impact on how consumers make their decision of purchasing in the market. So we made an online experiment to elicit how consumer purchasing intention and willingness to pay can differ according to the presence of the certification. So we based our design on a theoretical framework that is to compare 3 versions of a similar product, in which in one of them we applied the certification scheme, and we aim to see whether this can have an impact on finally purchase intention, and whether this certification can have an impact, a mediating impact on the perception of risk when people go and buy products. So I will explain better this design that is a 3x3x2 design. It means that we propose 3 products. Within each product, we propose 3 versions of the same product, and then we group participants into 2 treatments that differ in the certification scheme that we propose. So we proposed for each product, for each version certified of the product, 2 different certification schemes that are ISCC Plus and RSP. So the products that we selected according to the case study leader's suggestion and based mainly on the potential use of the byproducts that came from each of the 4 case studies that Lucia before have presented are the following one. So there is the shampoo for the case study 1 that we tested on a set of Spanish consumers. Then there is the fertilizer for Italy and Greece, and then the cosmetic cream, for instance, a face cream for the case study that refers to Sweden. So once we have selected this set of products, we also propose 3 versions of the same product. Here you can see on the right the example of the 3 versions of the ice cream for the Swedish case study. So here we propose 3 different products. There is the conventional one, for example, one produced with chemicals. Then there is the bioproduct, that is one produced by recycling organic or industrial waste materials. And then there is the certified bioproduct, that is equal to bioproduct plus the application of a certificate that you can see from the image. So here we are interested in seeing whether subjects have different willingness to pay and purchase intention for each version of this product, and how it can change according to these attributes. So we proposed 2 certification schemes. This is the information that we gave to the 2 subset of participants. One group has participated in the ISCC Plus certification scheme treatment, and another group that was randomly selected got information about the RSP certification. So this is the main information that we provide about what certification are in this context. And this is an example on the information provided to participants in the ISCC Plus treatment and RSB certificate on the right for the shampoo, for instance. So they were supposed to see that these are the 3 versions of the same shampoo, and then we assume a baseline price, that is average market price for a classic without any brand conventional shampoo, and then we ask how much you're willing to pay for the same product that is bioproduct or byproduct with certification. And so this is the main variable that we are interested in to be investigated. So the experimental design consisted on a group of a total of 400 participants that have been splitted across product and across certification, as you can see from the table on the left side. And the 400 participants were equally distributed across the 4 countries, and they were representative of a population, on a working age population, and the experiment took place some months ago on March. So the main results, as you can see from this slide, which represents in each graph the box plot, that is the average willingness to pay for the same product, but the blue square is the willingness to pay for the bioproduct, while the orange one is the willingness to pay for the bioproduct with certification, while the red horizontal dotted line is the reference price that we gave as a market initial price for the conventional product. As you can see, we have here on the left this willingness to pay for both the RSB on the left and the ISCC Plus on the right for the face cream, and then we have it also for fertilizer on the center and for the shampoo on the right. And as you can see, the trend is quite similar across all the products, even though the prices are different, but it's quite simple to see that there is a higher willingness to pay for bioproduct relative to the conventional benchmark. So the blue, the average of the blue square is always higher than the red dotted line. However, the price increases when you ask people how they are willing to pay for the same bioproduct with certification. That is the average that you can see in the orange plot here. And this is consistent across all the 3 kinds of products, but as you can see, there is no a clear difference between the RSB and ISCC Plus increase in willingness to pay. So we can say that there is no, at least according to this descriptive observation, there is no huge difference between the perception of these 2 certifications. So the importance in this case was to put a certification on the bioproduct that can explain the difference. But the difference between ISCC Plus and RSB is not so visible here. Then we also investigate whether the presence of a certification can have an impact directly on the perception of risk of subject when they buy, in terms of both environmental risk and both health risk. And as you can see, this is also a very good mediator of the relationship between the presence of certification and finally the purchase intention, as well as the willingness to pay. Because as you can see from the both graphs, the perception of environmental and health risk, as you can see, is the gray column across all these 2 graphs, is always lower than the bio product, that is the orange one, and still much lower than the conventional product. So we can say that in this sense, the presence of certification clearly matters in terms of perception of risk. So when you give like more trustful products to consumers, they probably will be more willing to pay also for it, and this can explain also the trend that we have seen before. So this reduction in perceived environmental and health risk can have a significant role in driving purchase decision of subjects. So wrapping up, we have seen, according to this socioeconomic analysis, that firstly, with Delphi's RE and AHP analysis, consumers, industries, and experts tend to converge on the inclusion of the new key requirement, that is that company should measure their carbon emission and should have established a reduction plan. According to the insight that we have already seen from the economic experiment, that of course have several limitations, but it gives us sort of insights on what is the impact of the presence of that certification, as well as they are ISCC Plus or RSB. These tend to increase the consumer trust by lowering the perceived risk from an environmental and health side. This finally leads to a higher purchase intention and a higher willingness to pay for both the three alternatives of the three different products. So we have seen, according to this analysis, that the presence of certification matters and can help the integration of the BioReCer impact and traceability assessment framework into the existing certification schemes. And this can, of course, can shape consumer acceptance and, as a consequence, can foster sustainable innovation through nudge towards businesses that can implement more sustainable choices. So thank you so much for your attention. If you have any question, I'm really happy to answer.
Thank you very much, Alessandro. And with this, I would like to open the discussion to the audience, and we would like to hear your thoughts, whether you can confirm these remarks and conclusions. What do you think? How useful do you think certification schemes are in guiding consumers and their sustainable choices? Please raise your hand so Daniela can give you the floor in case you want to make a verbal comment, and in case you would like to type your comment in the chat, we will give you a minute to do so. Maybe in the meantime, some of our experts can say whether they can confirm this. Maybe Berit, as you are from a certification body, how is your experience with the brands you certified?
Sorry. Yeah, we of course we don't know what prices they obtain for their products when they ask for certification. But we do see that for especially for sustainability certification in the product markets, there's an increasing request. So more and more companies are interested in certification, and so assumably also the customers of them are interested in the certification, and it gives a lot more transparency than if companies just claim that they have bio products or sustainable products if they really go for certifications.
So you can clearly confirm the increase of consumer trust.
Yes. Yes.
I still don't see any hands. So with this, I might lead. Oh, Martin. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, no. So I'll introduce myself later, but I do have some experience with that. I think the consumer he feels good about buying a product when it has a certification on it, and as demonstrated in the survey, they still don't have enough knowledge to perceive if one label is more trustworthy than another. So having a label is already something good. Now, having a recognizable label like FSC is today for paper takes decades, and ISCC and RSB are not that well known yet. I think they will become. If you see how the number of companies obtaining ISCC certification has grown tremendously in the last years, I think it's just a question of time. Another point is that we really hope and cross our fingers for the Green Claims Directive to be implemented, is because we have excessive labels out there, all different scopes and different meanings, and the consumers do not understand. So this needs to be better regulated.
I guess hope is all that's left with the current insecurity regarding the Green Claims Directive. And with this, I would like to invite our next speaker. Maybe Alessandro, you could stop your screen share so Monica
Thank you so much.
Put her presentation up. And this would be Monica Perndey from Meocarbon Solutions. And she's going to explain the integration of BioReCer frameworks into existing bio-based certification schemes. Looking forward to your presentation, Monica.
Thank you, Dushika, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Can you see my screen and hear me properly?
Yes, we see it perfectly.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And yes, just to explain, I'm Monica Pandey and I work for Mayor Carbon Solution. We are an environmental consultancy based in Cologne, Germany. And we provide consultancy on various sustainability aspects as well as on certification scheme. Therefore, we were, as a part of consortium, we were responsible for integration of the framework into the existing certification scheme. And I will present you about our achievement on this one of the major objective of the project. Just the table of content that I'll be talking about. So integration of BioReCer framework into the established certification scheme is what was the topic of work package 4, and it has 3 main objectives. First one is related to the multi-stakeholder engagement, regarding which we had several rounds of focus group discussion surveys, as my colleague Alessandro presented. And thank you so much for all the stakeholders presented to contribute in the framework. I will not go into detail about the stakeholder involvement, but focus more on the second and the third objective, which is to complement the objective was to complement to have a framework that complements the existing certification scheme and how this framework can be integrated. Just a brief recap, Lucia already explained, and also in our previous workshop, it was already explained, the BioReCer framework, but for new faces who doesn't know that, it is a theoretical framework developed to assess the sustainability and circularity of the biological feedstock. And the framework contains set of principles, criteria, and requirements based on the fundamental pillars like environmental, economic, and social. So in the figure, you can see that we have several principles and criteria and 52 requirements under these pillars, which are also divided into basic and advanced. So just a brief background, that basics are the one that are mandatory requirements for any companies or biobusiness industries to comply with for the in the BioReCer framework, and advanced is like any additional effort that the company puts to achieve the sustainability would be considered as advanced requirement. So some of the activities and outcomes of work package 4, just a brief methodology, what we applied in order to develop the outcome, to get the outcomes is, firstly, we selected existing bio-based certification schemes. More than 10 certification schemes were selected based on the case studies or representing sectors. So some of the examples are ISCC, RSP, FSC, MSC, as well for fisheries. So these certification schemes were selected and then was benchmarked against the BioReCer framework, like against these 52 requirements, basically, to see that what are the existing gaps, what are the existing gaps between the existing requirements of the certification scheme and what BioReCer framework can add on more. And based on that, we developed a practical guidance document. This is just a screenshot of like how the deliverable or the report guidance document looks like, and I will go more detail here. So this guidance document was mainly developed to guide the integration of BioReCer framework. So first, there are different user groups who can use this guidance document. So it contains like 3 different components for different user groups. The first one is on the guideline for integration of BioReCer framework into certification scheme. So it basically is a chapter on a guide for the certification schemes, basically to how to evaluate the existing requirements and how to align their operational procedures with BioReCer framework. And the second part is on the verification guidance that goes more in details on the requirement, explaining the requirement, like what does each requirement mean, so that we avoid misinterpretation of the requirement. And this is definitely for a certification scheme as well as for bio-based industries to understand what are those requirements and how can they fulfill it, and also for certification bodies. And then the third component is the audit checklist, which is the structured audit structured tool developed to ensure that the necessary audit requirements are covered or assessed properly during the audit process. And yeah, this will be mainly used by certification schemes as well as certification bodies and auditors. So how can this framework be integrated into the scheme? So the first step is on the assessment of the requirements. So schemes already has set of requirements, they have set of standards that they are operating. But it is important, in order to integrate the BioReCer framework, first it is important to check like what is the alignment of all those requirements. So based on that, a benchmark has to be conducted by a certification scheme in order to know if the existing requirements are fully aligned with BioReCer framework. Because, for example, some of the requirement that we found during the comparative analysis was also that it was already met, like schemes has strong focus on environmental aspect, for example. So some are already met, some are partially met because maybe not all the requirement it is mentioned, but not the requirements are not detailed out, like what would be needed in order to meet the requirement, and sometimes it's not aligned. So based on these criteria, alignment categories, benchmark or assessment has to be carried out. And the step 2 would be mainly on integration of the requirement, like updating standards, audit procedures, and reporting template. So if there are any gaps based on like if it's aligned or partially aligned or not aligned, then how can certification scheme update it or revise their standards? So the framework basically allows schemes to select their own integration approach. We defined 2 approaches. One is add-on and one is add-in. And add-on is integrating the BioReCer framework as a supplementary module to what the existing scheme already has. So auditor will go with the 2 sets of requirement or the tools where the core requirement of this scheme will be assessed, as well as the requirements of BioReCer framework. And the second approach would be add-in, where the scheme can decide that if they want to adopt the already integrate some of the new requirements that they did not have before into their framework or the core structure that they have, and then revise their structure. So after this, then the scheme will also have to align their certification process, because as we know, all the certification scheme have their own certification process, and then key components are like how to conduct the audit processes, how to do the reporting, what should be the corrective measures, like when they are not compliant with certain basic or advanced requirements, certificate issuance and all. So this has to be aligned by the certification scheme, and also the proper trainings and trainings needs to be provided to all the system users, certification bodies, auditors, as well as the industries that are part of the certification scheme. However, the scheme will have to declare that they are recognizing the BioReCer framework as well. That is the main criteria. All these components parts are mainly described in the practical guidance document. The second component is the verification guidance. It has also, this is one of the example of the requirement where each requirement is described, and then the level of compliance as categorized by BioReCer framework, which is basic and advanced, as I explained before, is mentioned, and also the circularity indicators that are linked with each requirement are also listed. And the guidance basically provides like how can those indicators be calculated and what is the exact meaning of the requirement, as well as it also provides the list of evidences and documents, and like how can auditors assess those requirements. And then the third part is on the audit checklist, which is the tool. It is the translation of verification guidance, but made it in a tool so that auditors can use it when in the field, when they go for the audit, when they are carrying out the audit. And this part here is basically for auditors to fill out what are the findings, and then to confirm if the industry is compliant with the requirement or not. So I did not go so much in details on this, but how this document is a public document, and as Lucy explained before, it will, once it's reviewed, it will be presented or publicly available in the Zenodo and also in the website, I guess. However, just to conclude that the project has now successfully developed the practical guidance document that provides guidelines and tools to understand as well as to integrate the sustainability and circularity requirements into the existing certification schemes. And also that my colleague Romain will explain more on BIT tools. So part of this verification guidance about like the description and evidence and documents are also part of the self-assessment tool that you will see in the coming presentations today. So saying this, I would like to thank you for your attention, and if there is any question, please feel free to ask, and yeah, or you can reach out to me via email. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Monica. There indeed is a question. Ronald would like to know what distinguishes the BioReCer framework from BRSP or ISCC, and wouldn't certification increase the so-called green premium? I feel this has been answered in the first presentation, but maybe you can catch up on it.
Thank you so much for the question. Indeed. So for BioReCer framework, I would say like the circularity indicators are the main, let's say, outcome, because it has very detailed indicators for each of the requirements. So mostly certification schemes are focused on the sustainability aspect and circularity, yes, as well, and then traceability. But then there are certain indicators, and how to calculate it, it goes more in detail on that. So that is the added advantage of the BioReCer framework.
Yeah, if I may add, also usually in certification schemes, the level of quantitative indicators is less than qualitative requirements. And right now we have a very comprehensive list of indicators that move across actors. So it goes from primary producers and waste producers to the end of the value chain. And they also consider different aspects of the life cycle of the product. So you have indicators related to mass input and how this biomass is valorized and reused across the products in the value chain. Every time you move from the value chain, you take what you have done before. And then we also have operation indicators and end of life indicators. So this, I think, is the key difference with other certification schemes.
Thank you for summing it up. And I see that Myra would like to add something as well.
It's a question, actually. Thank you for the presentation. I'm just, I look forward to reading the document. I think it'll be very interesting. And I was just wondering if you had been in touch with the certification schemes and what had been their response.
Yes, we did. So we also did the pilot assessment actually as part of, I did not present it today, and but we did a pilot assessment with companies like wastewater sector and also in agriculture sector in Greece and Italy, like in our case study regions, together with ISCC Plus. So seeing that what companies are, if companies are already prepared with the existing requirements of the scheme, which is ICC Plus, is applicable to them, and also with the BioReCer framework. So auditors went to the field and then they assessed the real companies and then gave us the results that, okay, these requirements can be verified on the field. And we also got some feedback from them that how can we even like make it more clear. So based on that, there were like several rounds of discussions with them, and then we finalized our documents.
Thank you. As we are running a little bit late on time, I would like to lead over to our next presentation, which will be by Romain Magnani. And he's from EGN and will introduce and also especially show the latest version of the BioReCer ICT tool.
Yes, thank you, Dushika. Can you see my screen?
Yes, but still in presenter mode, in your own mode.
Okay.
Now.
So hello, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Romain Magnani, and I work at EGN as a software developer. and we are leading the work package 5 on the BioReCer ICT tool, which is the technical platform that we are building to help support the project needs. And so what I'm going to show you in this presentation is the front end of it. I just would like to mention that the infrastructure is quite big, and I would like just to mention that we have in the background the Stadio context broker based on the NGSID standard, which helps powering everything. But I will not go into the details in this presentation. I will just focus on the front end, which is a mobile-first web application. So it means that it's designed to work well on a mobile phone, but it's also working perfectly fine on a desktop or PC or any kind of screen sizes. So we tried to design the interface for different kind of needs or expectations with in mind the certification bodies, the bioproducers, bioindustry, but also for any curious citizen or consumers who would like to increase its knowledge about the bioindustry. So everything I'm going to show you is very much still a work in progress. So of course, your feedback will be important. So yes, the BIT is composed of 3 key modules, and for each of them, I will show you a little demo. I recorded a little video for each of them, so you can see it in motion. The first one is the BIT Advisor. We call it the BIT Advisor because it's the module for the self-assessment for businesses. The second one I will show you is the exploratory feature for products, where you can explore the supply chains, track the products, and see the digital passports. And lastly, a final module about certifications and standards, and where we can also see the company's requirement scores. But before reaching these modules, you will have to do first something you are used to do for any other service is registering. So you can go to this URL and then click on login. And if you don't have account, you can click on register and then input your email, password, and first name, last name. And you will be redirected to the UI. Now you can select your profile with a little text helper. If you're not sure, here for the demo, I will select the biomass producer. And for this role, we also ask you to register your company. So here I will just register a fictive one. Your company sector, the name, the role. If it's looking for an audit from a certification body, you can click on the checkbox, select the company sector in the list, which you can filter, and then click OK. You need to select the location. It doesn't need to be precise, just you can click on the map. And then you are good to go to the BIT Advisor module. So it's a sector-specific decision-making support system, so for bioresources. And it gives also recommendations and guidelines to improve certification scores at the end. It's based on the basic and advanced requirements that Monica just talked about before. So let's see it in motion. You have the two lists. Here it's written primary requirements, but it has to be changed to basic. And for the basic requirements, we have a list of 28 questions, yes or no, or not applicable. Maybe your company doesn't use water. So this, for example, question asks you if it's related to water. So maybe you can click on not applicable, so it will not be registered in your score. So those are mandatory. It means if you click on no once, you will not be certified for, you will not be able to be certified for the basic requirements. But we let you go till the end, so you can at least see the recommendation. So we have 3 pillars of question, like Monica said, the economical score, the social score, and environmental score. But also we have a sector average. So if many companies of the same sector are answering, you can compare yourself with other ones. And then we have the guidelines sorted by pillars. And depending on the answer, you can see the recommendation. For example, here, I answered yes, and we are saying that during the audit process, we have to follow some evidence. Here, I'm able to go ahead and do the second one, the advanced recommends, 23 questions, to see if I can improve my certifications. And again, the 3 same scores and average. I can retry if I want or see the last results. Okay, I'm moving on to the next module, which is the product search feature, where you will be redirected. If you select the bioindustry profile, you will arrive on this map. Here you can click and in the search bar and select for by name for your product or by geoqueries. So you can select just to look for a product just in where you are looking at. So let's see it in motion. Here I'm looking for sludge. But if I want to see just the ones in the northwest region of Spain, I can click on the toggle button and see them here. So we have 4 different batches of sewage sludge. I can see the last travel and its timeline. So here I can see this sludge is coming from the wastewater. It went through the process, wastewater treatment, to generate this sewage sludge I'm looking at. Here on the timeline, I can see it was transported from one place to another where it was stored. And then it was used in another process to generate different other output products. So here we can see the digital passport of this sewage sludge where we have a QR code. So we can click download and print it, for example, and put it somewhere in the physical world so it's easy to keep track and directly come back to this page to see the updated data of this specific product. We can also see its circularity indicators, which are automatically calculated based on the available data. And other kind of data, transportation, CO2 emissions, company requirements, and the certifications. If there are any certification scheme linked to this product, it will appear also in the digital product passport. So here I'm going down the tree of the supply chain. I clicked on the VFA mixture, which was using the sewage sludge. And then we can see this VFA mixture was used to create or generate propionic acid. So let's keep going down the tree. And now I see it's the end of the tree and we can see the digital product passport of this propionic acid. And here the interesting fact is that we can see that the product didn't move, so it didn't generate any CO2, but the byproduct used to generate the propionic acid, they had to be moved. So indirectly, it generated some CO2. And now let's have a look on different kind of product, like the algae for the biomass, where we have a different kind of data. Here, for example, we have the spectrum. So this can be interesting in a digital passport to visualize. And I will move on to the last module, which is the certifications. So it's a guide to bio-based standards and certifications, where we can browse the relevant selection of certification for the bio-based sectors, and list companies by requirement scores, and see if some companies are looking for audit. So it came to my attention that we separated certification schemes and standards, but probably those two tabs can be merged into a single one. So here we can select areas for the certification schemes, but also some keywords to filter them. And we can, if we are interested in one, we can click and it will be redirecting the user to the page of details of the standard. On the third here tab, the first one, we will see the company scores, the companies which have answered the basic requirements and the advanced one. We can see their scores, and we can see that, for example, this one has fulfilled the basic requirements and is asking for an audit. So it can make contact between the certification bodies and the companies easier. And also just would like to mention that in the digital product passport, the product owned by the companies which have answered the requirements will have this information displayed. But of course, this is all private by default. So it means that you can have this information just for yourself at the beginning. And once you are ready and you feel like it's interesting for you to put this information public, then you will be able to do it through the administration interface, which we are using in BioReCer for feeding the platform with data. And update the data, but I would like to mention that the platform is ready for full automatization. So it means that once you initialized your use case, you created your product, then you can totally automatize your updates, and with using the steadily API or the components we put in place in the BioReCer infrastructure, like the subscription notification system. And then you can relax and just look at the data being updated by themselves. We are also able to connect IoT sensors and external APIs, even Excel sheets. If you are used to use Excel sheets to put your data, we are capable of taking this data to fill the platform with it. So just to finish this presentation, I would like to show you a quick demonstration how to initialize a use case in 5 minutes with the administration interface. So you can access it through the Bit UI here in the top right corner in the menu, and you will be redirected to a new user interface where you can create a new use case. Here I'm calling it wheat cultivation. And now I'm on this view, I have all the entities which are archetype of data which I have to fulfill. So here we start with adding some product. For example, the wheat grain, which is a main product, 1 kilo of it. And here I don't have for the moment a storage location, so I'm clicking on partial complete, so I know I have to come back to it later. I'm creating a new product, a straw, which is a residue or byproduct, 3 kilos. Same thing, I will have to come back later. So I click on partial submit only. Now I'm adding some herbicides. And now I'm adding some fertilizers, just going faster. Moving on to the production system. So here it will be just the wheat farm, the wheat cultivation field, sorry. I have to put a location on the map where it is located. Again, I have to come back later to link it to the transformation. Here I will add the corporation. If it's already created, I can take it in the list or I can create a new one. So it's the wheat cultivation farm, which is close to the field. It's a primary producer. I'm adding a warehouse for the straw, which is a little bit further. We have a truck, which is dedicated to transport of straws between the field and the warehouse. So here we'll have to come back to add the travel to indicate that it's a travel between the field and the warehouse. So here I'm adding the travel. So this travel is about taking the straw between the cultivation field to the warehouse. Okay, ready. The transformation here is about the cultivation. So we cultivate the grain with the herbicide fertilizers to become straw. So the products used as input by this transformation are fertilizers, herbicides, and the grain. We are using some water for this transformation. Here I will use kilograms as unit because for BioReCer we decided to use only kilograms to ease the comparison. And as output, we have the straw of this transformation. Okay. So here I could continue and add some certification and link them to my product, but it's not necessary. It's just optional at this point. And now I will just come back to the incomplete entities to add here the travel and the last known location for the product. So here it's the straw warehouse for the fertilizer. No, the field for the fertilizer. The field also. The warehouse for the straw. Oops, sorry. And when all the entities are ready, then you can synchronize with the platform. And now your data are saved and you will be able to see them on the Beat UI. So here, my use case is ready and I can see it. So I see my input products, the fertilizer, the herbicide, the wheat grain. It went through the process of wheat cultivation to generate the straw. It was transported from the cultivation field to the straw warehouse. It is stored in the straw warehouse. And I can see the digital product, which will be generated automatically. We have the QR code, the mass balance. And each time we add data to the product, it will appear dynamically in this view. And to finish this presentation, I just would like to mention the Beat user manual that we are collectively in the project creating. So everything that you heard and see today will be explained more in details in this document. We have a section about the key benefits, the security and confidentiality of data, and how to navigate the platform, and help and tips and frequently asked questions. And thank you for your attention. If you have any questions.
Thank you, Romain. I think there might be one question, or it's a statement that supporting or evidence documents can be uploaded into the tool. Can you confirm?
For the moment, we cannot upload documents. That's a limitation we have. But that's something interesting that never came to the table in BioReCer for the moment. We have to consider probably what kind of document, the certification maybe?
I assume like an audit or confirmation of certification. Okay, with this, I would like to lead over to our roundtable discussion. Maybe you could stop your screen share, then I would share mine. Thank you. Can you see my screen and the overview of our participants?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So before I introduce our panel today, I would just like quickly to thank all of our speakers and panelists, because they have been so supportive along the entire way, have been guided our progress, and also contributed their expertise and time multiple times. So thank you very much for joining us once more. So today I'm looking forward to welcome Berit Topolinski from DINCERTCO. She is an expert for the certification of bio-based and compostable materials and packaging. She's also an expert on certification of sustainable biomass. She holds a PhD in chemistry from the University of Berlin. Berit works as a product manager at DINCERTCO, covering different fields such as sustainable biomass in connection with ISCC and Red Cert, as well as compostable products and bio-based certification. And since 2024, she also coordinates the product management for compostable and bio-based certification. We are also joined today by Helmut Frischenschlager. He's from the Environmental Agency of Austria and an environmental expert and consultant. Helmut earned his doctorate at the UT Wien, and he's also focused on environmental analysis and holds a master's degree as well in chemical engineering. After working as an application engineer in the environmental technology sector and industry, Helmut joined the Umweltbundesamt in Vienna in 2005, and he's since been a part of the team for environmental assessment and transformation of the economy. He's also an expert in bioeconomy, bio-based circular economy, and green chemistry, with interests in eco-innovation, technologies, process products, and services, including innovative function-related or benefit-based business models, like, for example, chemical leasing. We are also joined by Anastasia Chatsipaviou. I hope I didn't butcher your last name, apologies. She's the director of the EEKE, the Union of Working Consumers of Greece. Anastasia is the director of the EEKE and holds a master's degree in international and European policies on educational and certification as an adult educator. She's authored a wide range of educational materials on consumer protection and social economy. Her work spans national research and advocacy, bringing Greek consumer voices to the front. We are also joined by Myra Devonshire from ICEAL. She has been working with ICEAL and sustainability standards since 2015. For many years, she has managed the ICEAL Innovations Fund, helping ICEAL members to take crucial steps to improve their systems, whether it is leveraging technology or forging new collaborations. And since 2023, she's been an advisor to 2 Horizon Europe projects, looking at the role of certification schemes in the European biosector. And our final panelist is Martin Klemescher from Braskem, Netherlands. Martin holds a degree in material engineering from the University of Sao Paulo and has over 2 decades of experience in the polymers industry. Since 2014, when he moved to Europe, he has been instrumental in advancing the I'm Green bio-based solutions in the region. In 2023, Martin moved to external affairs, where he focuses on fostering industry dialogue and advocating for the future of biopolymers and circularity in the plastic sector. And we would like to open this discussion with the following question. From your perspective, what strengths or added values do you see in the BioReCer IC tool? And I would kindly ask each of the speakers to answer maybe in 3 minutes. And if you would like to catch up on the comments of your previous speaker, please go ahead. I would suggest to start with Berit as we introduce her first.
Okay, thank you very much. Generally, it's nice to have a tool that combines different certifications in one place, because as we can see, the information about certification is very widely distributed over the internet, and companies searching for materials or searching for certification have to work through several pages of internet, several certification schemes or databases where they find certified companies. So there's not one database that combines all. Also, it's a nice feature, I think, that the chain of custody is also visible on this tool, which is also not so easy to follow when you go through the certification scheme sites or the certification body sites. And it's also nice for the companies to have some kind of assessment before they apply for certification to see if it's possible to obtain certification or if they really save emissions. And yeah, for us, it's nice. Yeah, if a tool would be nice where we can see companies asking for certification and bringing together the certification bodies and the clients.
Thank you. Maybe we could continue with Helmut.
Yeah, thank you. I will understood all the things said before by my colleague. Before I want to give some comments or answer to this question, I just want to say the role of the Environment Agency Austria, because we provide the basis for decision making at local, regional, national, European and international level, not only to companies, but also especially to politics. And therefore, it's very good to have this tool to get an insight, identifying and understanding the sources of biomass, not only by quantity, but also by quality, including also the biogenic residues especially. And these biomass sources, as we all know, they should be used in a sustainable and circular bioeconomy, and therefore I think this tool provides very value insights in the quality of this data, of this biomass sources and products also, of course.
What would you consider the most valuable feature of the different ones that have been named, or the most innovative one from your perspective?
From my point of view, of course, it's very good to have this model regarding the products and the biomass sources. Yeah, to have a picture where they're located. If you click on it, to have this data on quantities, on background information of the timeline, and also if a rough, I would say a rough estimation assessment, for example, THG or GHG emissions and other pollutants, perhaps if this also can be incorporated in this tool in future. But I would say the carbon footprint. So this information on the carbon footprint of these products is very worthwhile information for us.
Thank you. And I would like to continue with Anastasia, the voice of the consumers. Can you see any benefit from a consumer or application user perspective of the tool? Is she still with us?
Yes, yes.
Ah, there you are.
Of course I am. Thank you so much. We see that BioReCer makes an important progress in EU bioeconomy by strengthening certification schemes for 3 issues: sustainability, circularity, and traceability of biological resources. Certification has a vital role to play in verifying the fact that products are made with specific sustainability, circularity, and traceability requirements, since existing ways, labels, certifications, schemes were designed for traditional feedstocks and do not actually address the complexities of bio-based products derived from waste in modern value chains with multiple intermediate process phases or steps. Thus, the perspective as consumer organizations is that the BioReCer tool presents several worthwhile strengths and added value for the bioeconomy transition, such as, first, enhanced transparency and trust by providing real-time data on the origin, characteristics, and traceability of biological feedstocks, which is the result. The tool contributes to greater reliability and credibility of sustainable claim across bio-based value chains. The second one is strengthening of certification frameworks. The BIT tool, BioReCer IT tool, complements and reinforces existing certification schemes with more robust and adaptable criteria. Result: support the credibility of eco-labels and reducing the risk of misleading of inconsistent information reaching consumers. Third, promoting environmental accountability. The tool's capacity to calculate and communicate CO2 emissions associated with transportation issues improves visibility of environmental impact. Result: it enables more evidence-based comparisons and facilitates informed decision-making. Fourth, consumer empowerment through accessible information. BioReCer tool, IT tool, is translating complex supply chain data into verifiable indicators. Result: the BIT has the potential to enable consumers to distinguish genuinely sustainable products from those subject to greenwashing practices. Fifth and last one, alignment with EU objectives. The BioReCer IT tool supports the implementation of the EU bioeconomy strategy and the broader Green Deal agenda. Result: it offers consumers the confidence that their purchasing decisions are contributing to shared environmental and societal goals. This is consumers' perspective. Thank you very much.
Oh, apologies, I was muted. Thank you very much. I would like to lead over to Myra, as you speak for many labels and certification schemes. Can you second this?
Yeah, for sure. Well, the problem with coming fourth is that a lot has been said already, but let me just pick up on a couple of things. Well, first of all, I think it's worth complimenting the project for producing a tool that is quite friendly in its interface. I think it seems very intuitive and very easy to navigate, and it contains lots of different types of information. So I think that is an accomplishment in itself. Now, in terms of the value of the tool, I'm no expert in biological waste, but it sounds to me like one of the reasons why it's often discarded is not because we don't have the technology to use it as a substitute feedstock, but because it's so hard to source it at the scale and frequency and quality that is needed. So I think the first strength of this tool is that it's putting a lot of really useful information at the fingertips of market actors, right? It connects farmers that have lots of straw with ethanol producers and so on along the chain. So I think that's a very important strength, and it also identifies the sustainability credentials of these products. Just to use Alessandro's words that I liked earlier, the presence of certification matters. So here, the tool is essentially allowing you to see whether a company or a product has been independently certified and against which standards, whether it is ISCC, RSP, FSC, etc. And if you are not certified as a company, you can also self-report your performance by using the self-assessment of the tool. I think a third strength that nobody has mentioned so far is the efforts that have been made to make a lot of the data gathering automated. And I think that that's super important, especially in the European context, where there's a lot of strong leadership to align on sustainability reporting and to create things like digital products, product passports, sorry. So I think the idea, there's no point in creating digital solutions that are not integrated, because in the end you're just duplicating and making things incompatible. So I think that is something that is quite a strength in this tool.
Thank you very much. And we only have Martin left. Do you have anything to add? Is he still here? Maybe we can catch up with Martin in the next part. Okay, then I would like to share the second question with you. Here we go. And this would be: what barriers or challenges do you anticipate for the practical adoption of such digital tools? Maybe we could once again start with Berit.
It's nice to always be first, so there's a lot to say. Yeah, what I was thinking was you can really follow the whole chain of custody, as I saw for products. I don't know, are companies ready to share that much information about their materials, especially as bio-based materials are sometimes hard to get, and maybe, yeah, I'm not sure if every company is ready to share this information. And for one thing, I really like the option that CO2 emissions are automatically calculated by answering questions in the tool. And I haven't seen that in detail, but I know that calculation of CO2 emissions is a science itself, and it matters largely on what values you use, what values you rely on. And I'm always a bit skeptic if there's no verification of these. And as I learned today, there's also no upload possibilities for certificates. That should be added. I think that companies really show that they actually are certified and have a proof of it, and not just enter it in the system to have measures that, the information in there is really accurate. One thing I was also thinking about is that not all schemes cross-recognize the materials certified under them. So I don't know if the tool takes this into account when companies search for certified products, or if companies know that to take this into account. And the last thing I have is like more of a question than a comment, but because I'm not sure about it. Do companies get some recognition by the tool, which would be the most suitable or a suitable certification scheme for them? Because not every material can be certified under every scheme. Yeah, that would be a question from my side.
So you would suggest to add this maybe to the recommendations section once the people do a self-assessment?
Yeah, maybe based on materials, because most schemes list what materials or what they accept. So especially if they come from forestry residues or from fishery residues, I'm not sure if every scheme has the possibility to certify it. And one last point, in the appointment before we went through the schemes that are recognized, it would be nice to add also further schemes, because there are further schemes out there for certification that are possible for such materials. Okay.
It's a lot to improve.
A lot of information, but I still, I still very much like the development of such a tool, and I see that it will be very helpful.
So maybe Helmut could catch up from here.
Yeah, thank you again. I think it's a very mighty tool, and congratulations to have established such a tool. I think it's very well value added. I wondered when I saw the tool for the first time, I wondered for which stakeholder group it is developed. But now I learned that you have different models. So this is a good thing. So each stakeholder group can choose a certain model and can use the tool for its own for their own purpose. This is, I think, a very good solution to have this. As I said before, for me, it's very worthwhile to have this model on product information. And in this module, I wondered how the data that are incorporated in the tool, how are they validated? So I'm not quite sure if the carbon footprint, I'm not quite sure about the methods that are in the background of the tool, how do which methods are used, because I think in this community or in this event, many participants are familiar with life cycle assessment, and we all know how complicated such life cycle assessments are, and it's very important to know also the details. For example, how do you allocate byproducts to main products, or how do you allocate CO2 emissions to the different byproducts? Is it allocated by mass, or is it allocated by cost or by price? So there are many different how you can do such a life cycle analysis. And if I read a value like 30 tons of CO2 emissions by transport, I'm a little bit skeptic how what's in the system boundary, and how is this value calculated. So that's why I said before this data or this carbon footprint is more or less as estimation. And in this connection, I think it's as also already said before, it's very important to have this possibility to upload further background information on the tool, supporting evidence documents, for example, but also to have to provide a handbook where also the methodology of the tool is described in a way. But summa summarum, I would say it's a very useful tool to raise awareness on bio-based waste, and how it can be used, how it can be sourced, and what's the value added if you use it. So I will use it.
This way,
I will use the tool. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that especially small enterprises might not even have this data to add. So this evaluation that we have currently implemented is to provide like an estimator on the emissions. So I guess specifically smaller providers might not be able to provide an LCA at this point. But we have Martin back. Maybe you would like to add, you missed your point on commenting on the benefits and added value of the tool. Or at least you wrote that you're back, but I missed my point. Okay, then I would like to continue with Alessandra. Could you maybe give a consumer perspective on the challenges and barriers of the tool?
Yes, Anastasia, you mean?
Oh,
Okay.
Anastasia, excuse me.
Okay. From a consumer perspective, several barriers and challenges can be foreseen in the practical adoption of this ICT tool. First, the complexity of information. Unless the data generated by the BioReCer IT tool is translated into clear, user-friendly formats. For example, standardized labels, simplified ratings, or harmonized indicators, consumers may struggle to interpret or act upon the information provided. A second one, digital accessibility and inclusiveness. Ensuring equal access to such tools across different socioeconomic groups remain a challenge, particularly for consumers with limited digital literacy or access. Third, consumer awareness and engagement. Given the relatively low level of familiarity with bio-based products and certification schemes among the general public, significant efforts in awareness raising and education will be required to ensure effective uptake. Fourth, trust in data and governance. The credibility of the BioReCer tool depends on the reliability, independence, and verifiability of the underlying data. Any perception of bias or lack of transparency could undermine consumer confidence. Fifth, industry participation. The effectiveness of the BIT tool will be limited if companies are reluctant to share data or if uptake is fragmented across sectors. Broad and consistent adoption by industry actors is essential for the tool to deliver meaningful value to consumers. And the last one that I was thinking is the harmonization with existing labels. You should know that consumers are already confused with many labels and certifications. Adding another layer without proper integration risks confusion rather than clarity. Thank you all for your efforts and for your attendance. I hope I gave you a clear perspective from consumers.
Thank you, you indeed did. Myra, would you like to continue?
I'm happy to go next, but I see that Martin is back, and maybe we could give him the
We
floor
can
in case
give
he
Martin
drops again.
Yes. As you missed your previous chance to comment on the benefits and added value, would you like to do both in one go?
Sure. First of all, I'm so sorry for my terrible internet connection. I don't know if it's internet or Zoom, but yeah, I come from the industry, right? And actually, while I see this tool very useful for SMEs, I still don't know exactly how it will be the fit with the big companies that already have certification. But listening to the feedback from the other panelists, one thing that I would like to highlight is when it was mentioned about the extra layer that is good, because also for asking, we have certified products, but we don't fully trust the certification. We want to have our own responsible sourcing program to add this extra layer of safety for us to make sure we're doing the right thing and buying from a sustainable source. So I think this role of helping bring credibility is very good. Transparency was already mentioned, traceability, all these things are very good. In terms of challenges, and the product passport, I think that's something really, you're ahead of the game, right? It's something that's going to come with legislation, and we're preparing for it in a way. So I think that's really, really good. And yeah, I would just resonate Anastasia's comment on making sure there is enough visibility for this tool to become more and more used. It will not be easy in the beginning. I think maybe even the Nova-Institut has a role to play here because you help promote all these sustainable initiatives. So that you have that place, right, where you have all the bio-based and circular renewable carbon companies there. Maybe there should be some kind of banner to promote this. But maybe then legislation at some point could require something. Let's see, a message from my advocacy side. Small companies sometimes are a bit, at this moment, with all the tsunami of legislation that came in their direction, they are a little bit overloaded. So there should be a good timeline for implementation and things like that. That would be my input.
Thank you, Martin. So then we can conclude with Myra.
Yes, I'll keep it short. So I think I agree with everything that has been said, and just building a little bit on what Anastasia and Martin just talked about the sort of the trustworthiness of these schemes. So as you know, there's so many different certification schemes that are applicable to the bio-based sector, and we know that companies are increasingly interested in making sure that they're using credible certification, and this is something that's been picked up also by legislation in the EU. We see it come up a lot in the greenwashing directives. Just setting criteria on how to assess how trustworthy a certification scheme is. ICL works a lot around this. We define credible practices, and we see, there's a lot of benchmarking initiatives out there that are using this credible criteria or credibility criteria to benchmark these different certification schemes. We actually just recently supported the bio-based cluster, which is also supported by the Horizon program, to develop a benchmark that is specifically designed for certification schemes applicable to the bio-based sector. I'm saying this because at the moment, the tool does not distinguish different types of certification schemes, but there are differences between certification schemes that are very important. So maybe that is another layer that would just help this tool be more, be stronger and more useful for the industry. Thanks.
Thanks to the panel. And with this, we would like to push the responsibility on our audience and participants and would like to hear your perspectives. So Daniela will, in a minute, share some questions through the chat. You will be able to answer them on the spot. With, let me just take a look at the scale. So 1 is that you strongly disagree with certain aspects, or 5 is that you strongly agree. And we will all be able to follow your votes and discuss. And once again, if anyone would like to comment or ask a question, please raise your hand and we can give you the floor. Does everyone see the questions displayed? Perfect. Daniela, maybe you can say if you received most of the votes you wanted.
Yes, people is voting. So just a second more, and then I will share the results so you can comment. Okay, more than half of the participants have answered, so someone else is answering. Okay, now I can stop and share the results.
So I think that I would like to use the system frequently. And I think that a majority is on the positive side, but not fully convinced yet. So we have 2 fully convinced participants and people that see some critical aspects about it. I found the system unnecessarily complex. So here we don't have anyone who fully agrees, or at least only one person, but we see that it's a lot of data to enter at the very beginning. So we are fully aware. But we hope that once people have established their profile and set a data stock, that it will be easy to maintain at some point. So I think Daniela is going to share the second question in a minute. And we would like to know if the system was, in your opinion, easy to use, or if you would think a technical support person would be useful for the system.
Okay, thank you. They are voting.
Maybe just for reference, the hosts and the panelists cannot vote, so we can't influence your opinion. So
okay, we have quite reached the most number of respondents as the first one. Just 1 second more, and then I will share the results. So you can also comment if you want in the chat or raising your hands the results. Okay, I'm closing the survey and I will share.
So it seems that most people think it's more or less easy to use. No one thinks it's super easy. And also a technical support person might be beneficial to at least some of the participants, but it's not an overwhelming majority.